In this episode I show you how I design my patchwork quilt and how I make my final design. Hi everyone, I hope you have been well. My name is Sini and I'm a fashion and textile designer, and welcome to my studio. This is the second episode for the patchwork quilt making project, and in this episode I'm going to show you how I design and make my quilt top. So let's get right into the video. I have finished trimming all these half square triangles. If you didn't see my previous tutorial how to make these, please check it out. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to decide the layout of my quilt. Here you can see all these different fabric combinations I have made, and I don't have equal amounts of each fabric. I'm not able to do a very symmetrical quilt pattern, so my design has to be a bit more random, but I'll see what I can do with these pieces. When I have come up with the design I like, I lay it all out. I'm using a floor here as my quilt is too big for a table. Then I take a photo of the layout, which I can refer to later on. Next, I'm going to pile these columns, so I start from the left hand side bottom, and I always pile these in pairs, and the second column is going on top of the first one. After I have piled up the columns 1 and 2, I put a sticker on it so I know which pile it is. I'll stick a pin through all the fabrics so the pile will stay together as well. Then I move to the columns 3 and 4, and I repeat the process throughout the other columns. Here you can see all the piles of patchwork, and I have marked them with the stickers. I'm back to my machine now, and I have my pile 1, 2 here. And I'm going to start sewing them in pairs. So I take the first 2 and so this is the number 1 and this is number 2 because my number 2 was always on the top, and I stitch them together from this seam. So I do the 1/4 inch seam on this side. And then I repeat the same thing. So now this is the number 1, 2 from the top that I've sewn together. And now I'm going to leave it in the bottom of the pile. It's good to make a note which way I'm piling these pieces so I don't get confused. So this time the 1, 2 top will be at the bottom. And now I'm going to take the next pair of the next 1 and 2 and sew them together again. So now I have done all the pieces in the pile 1, 2, so I stick the sticker back on top so I know which pile it is, and I put it away. So next I'm going to move on to the pile 3, 4, and I'm going to repeat the process with this pile and with the rest of the piles as well. Here you can see all the piles of patchwork columns I have sewn together. Next I take the pile 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I take the top ones from the pile and I sew them together. Then I take the top one from the pile 5 and 6 and sew it together with the column 4. Then I take the top one from the pile 7, 8 and sew it together with the column 6. Now I take the final pair from the pile 9 and 10 and sew it together with the column 8. And here you can see the first row ready. Then I'm going to continue with the next row and I'm going to continue the process with the rest of the rows as well. So now I have sewn all the rows and my top row is now on the top because I started from the bottom up. So now I need to press all the seams so that they are pointing different directions. So let's say I press all my first row seams to the right. So the next row I need to press them to the left. So the seams will then sit nicely when they are sewn together, when they are facing opposite directions. And this is called nesting the seams. So the seam will be flat. So I just press down the seam without moving the iron so I don't stretch the fabric. all the seams I'm pressing the same direction. So this time to the right, and the next row all the seams will be going to left. So now I have pressed all the seams, and now I need to match the seams. So I put a pin onto the seam. So I check where the seams are meeting and I put a pin in that place. So I'm back at my machine and I'm going to sew this first row together. So again, I'm going to do a 1/4 inch seam like before, and then I'm going to sew my first row together. So now I have sewn my first 2 rows together. So I'm going to do the same to the rest of the rows and I'll show you what I've done. Now I have come to the final stage of making my quilt top, and only thing I need to do now is to press the seams. So either I can press them down like this, or then I can press them open like that. But that takes longer time, so I'm just going to do it on one side on this quilt, because it doesn't really make a difference on this type of patchwork. So I just hold the iron in place. So what do you think? Do you like my quilt top? In the next episode I'm going to show you how I do the basting and quilting. Please like my video if you liked it and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out the next part of this project. You can check out the previous episode here where I do the half square triangle unit. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time for the part 3. Bye!